Hello, once again welcome to Walk With Me. My name is Alex Simbwa and this is my wife Jurvass Simbwa. We welcome you to another episode of Walk With Me, and before we go any further, let me ask Mrs. Simbwa to remind us what Walk With Me is all about.
Hello, welcome once again. As my husband said earlier on, Walk With Me is a platform where we exchange ideas, where we teach, where we share experiences, and where we gain experience regarding relationships. From the beginning, whether you're seeking out a spouse, whether you're courting, whether you are already married, we encourage quality relationships.
Okay, now today we will begin by talking about relationships. Relationships are a broad thing, but any kind of relationship is something that God intended for us to have. And it's an inbuilt desire. Every one of us has an inbuilt desire to relate with another, to relate with a relative, to relate with a parent, to relate with a friend, to relate with a workmate. Relationships are broad and they encompass all of that. So we will be delving into why different relationships are really important. And whereas our focus is on the marital relationship, whereas our focus is on the romantic relationship, we'll be looking at different kind of relationships and how each of them influences the other. Now, for most of the relationships that we have, you might note that they are by choice. I choose my friends.
Yes.
I choose, or we appoint workmates are appointed. They may be appointed by us or may be appointed by anybody else. Remember, in the types of relationships, you have the boss-worker relationship, you have the brother-sister relationship, you have all of those ones. But we are focusing, or we will be focusing, on the romantic relationships. In as far as biological relationships are concerned, they are the only relationships that we do not choose.
Yeah.
You do not choose who your child will be. You are given a child by God, or you do not choose who your parents will be. But these are very crucial relationships later on, even after you've left your home, either as a married person or whenever you get your independence and so on. The background, your relationship. Let me give an example of a daughter and a father relationship. The way a daughter relates to a father is very important for the wife-husband relationship. The influence might be good or might be bad.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Similarly, the way a boy child or a man or a young man relates with the mother will influence very much how they will relate with their wife later in life. Yeah, so it is extremely important. Even as you're doing your parenting, I think when we get to the point of parenting, we'll be able to discuss that. But we are saying that a lot of what people do later in life, for example, when you're a young man and you're married, much of that influence comes from how you related with your mother. Also, not on the one side only, but also how what you see as you grow up influences what you will do in your own relationship. For example, if you look at your father treating your mother well, let me begin with the good news. If you look at your father treating your mother well, chances are you will learn a good thing, that ladies are treated well.
That's right.
Vice versa, when you see your parents not relating well, for example, the father mistreating the mother, then chances are you will take a leaf and do the same and imagine that things are like, it has gone a long way in the sense that we know that some people have taken it as a belief. You've heard of the saying, omusajja asajja laata. That is in our local language in Luganda. It says omusajja asajja laata. That is a perception that has come into some people's minds as a result of what they grew up seeing. When you see your philandering husband or a philandering father, then you will automatically imagine that that is the right way of doing things.
Then the other thing also is, as children, when we are growing up, when you reach a marrying age, you will want to seek out, on the positive side, the character of your father in your husband. And that is a good thing.
It is.
But sometimes you miss out on a real spouse simply because you're trying to look for
your
daddy.
father. You're looking for daddy in your husband.
Or you're looking for a mommy
in your mother. In your wife. Yeah.
So on the negative side is that you end up putting a demand on your spouse to be your father, or to fill a gap that your father did not fill, or to fill a gap that your mother did not fill. And that kind of causes a tension, because the importance of the relationships that we have, parents, siblings, friends, they are all important at different stages. So your brother cannot be your husband, your father cannot be your husband, and neither can your sister be your wife, nor your mother your wife. So your brother is your brother and will forever be your brother. But at a certain stage, when you are married to your husband, you should not expect him to treat you as
your brother
or your father did. So we need to be careful that the relationships we have with our parents, they must be special. We need to nurture them. We need to invest in them, so that when we are living, we do not put a demand on our spouses to be like our parents. Though we need to borrow a leaf.
Borrowing a leaf does not mean you take a bit of your father into your marriage.
Yes. Yeah, because you hear most ladies, you know, if their father has a sense of humor, they would want somebody that has a sense of humor. And sometimes they might miss out on the real spouse because they are seeking out for the sense of humor that their father has.
Okay. Very well. Now, we mentioned those biological relationships. They are not by choice. You don't choose who your parents were, or you don't choose who your mother is, your father is, and so on and so forth. But they are then relationships. For example, you choose who your spouse will be. You choose who your spouse will be. And when like I chose you, yes, like I chose you out of many, and you accepted me. The relationship here is that I choose, then you accept, because when I choose, you might say no, as we'll be seeing in Assis later on. But in that sense, because it is by choice, there are things we look for in a spouse when we are trying to make our choices. Number one, interests. It is very disastrous if you don't have any common interest between yourself and your spouse, or between any kind of relationship. People are drawn together by interest. Some people are interested in one another because of the teams they support. Others are interested in one another because of the talents they share. Others are interested in one another because of different things, generally.
Actually, you were shocked to find out that I loved football.
I was shocked to find out that you loved football. I didn't imagine that a pretty lady like yourself would be interested in what a lot of girls would call a rugged game, like football. But here she is, and she's a great fan of football. Why? Now, I talked about interests. Those are some of the common things that we have between ourselves. We have our love of music. Both of us love music, and one of the things that drew us to one another is our love for music, our love for sports, and a lot of other things between ourselves. So we are saying that interests are very key if you're going, because just imagine you're going to spend a lifetime together. Imagine if you're not interested in anything your spouse is interested in. Just imagine which kind of relationship you're going to have if that is the kind of if you don't have any interest between yourselves.
The other thing is we choose partners according to the values that we have. You know, values of integrity, values of compassion, values of love, values of hard work. You are drawn to this person because they are hard workers. They are people of integrity, and there's something that draws you to them because of what you do. And then the other thing is principles. We look for people that have the same principles
with you.
Yes, and you feel like I can walk the journey with this person because birds of the same feather flock together. So I am attracted to you. So because of the principles I have and the principles that I see in you, I am drawn to you. And I'm like, this is the person that I can walk with, because two can only work together unless they agree.
The other one is purpose. Now, if you don't have a mutual purpose, then the likelihood of relating is really, really small. Okay, now I told you that our relationships are broad, and our focus is on the romantic relationships or the relationships that lead to marriage, and after, those are the ones that we are focusing on. So if you have a mutual purpose, then you will seek out that purpose between the two of you. For example, if the purpose is ministry, you say, we can minister together with this person. I see this person adding value to my life in this sense. The other things, you see the difference between us and other animals or other creation is the ability, because plants procreate also. If you've heard of pollination, animals procreate. Okay, so children, you cannot say, I married her because I wanted to have children. You could have married any other woman, and she would have bore you children. Okay, but there must be a purpose that is greater than bearing children.
That's right.
That is greater than cooking you food. Any woman can cook food. Any woman can wash clothes. Any woman can tidy a home. Any woman can do all of those things. But you sought somebody with whom you have a mutual purpose. We can walk this journey together. That's why we call this platform Walk With Me, because you agree and have a purpose ahead of you, then you decide that we shall walk together. You mentioned a very key element. Agreement is extremely important. We shall be seeing that also in the C's, that you consent, you agree to walk a journey, and then you begin walking on that journey until you get to your destination. So the other one we've mentioned a little bit about the perceptions, that when you from your background, you can begin perceiving men. One of the most shocking things I got from my wife, from her past, I don't know which past exactly contributed to that, but when we were dating, one of the things she mentioned was that men are dogs. And I spoke to her and said, wait a minute, young lady, you are seated before a gentleman here. I hope you are not meaning that I'm including the dogs that you're talking about and so on. But the perception came from somewhere. Growing up, she must have seen something that contributed to shaping that perception in her mind, that men are such and such. And she had her reasons for saying that and so on. I don't know whether her perception has changed, but I believe so.
By the way, you gave me a comfort when you told me, you comforted me when you told me,
I am not men.
I am not men. Yeah.
I am not men.
That was reassuring.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, in this journey, we need to put those very, very carefully. Before you delve into any kind of relationship, do you have mutual interests between yourselves? Do you have a purpose for this particular relationship? Do you have principles upon which you're going to work in this journey? And what is your the other party's perception, or each of you, what is your perception as you move in this journey, as well as the values that you have in this relationship? We'll be winding up today, but before we do that, let's point out a few things that might easily influence your choice of partner, for example, or the person that you relate with, and how that negativity. There are two things that can happen. Let me give you an example of a polygamous versus monogamous relationship. When a child is in a polygamous family, they might consciously say, I will never be polygamous, after looking at the negatives in their own parents' relationships. Likewise, they might choose to be polygamous because of what they have done, what they have seen. So it's very, very important. Likewise, abuse. Okay, if you grow up in an abusive home, you might choose and say, I will never meet this kind of violence to my partner. If you didn't see affection in your while growing up, I was one person that didn't see affection going on between my parents. And I chose and said, that is not the kind of thing that I would want. It's even between me. I feared my father very much. He loved me immensely. My father loved me immensely, but I feared him. so much. So I decided as a parent, in my parenting styles, I am free with my children. They can speak to me, I can speak to them. We can share between ourselves like human beings. You get it? They still respect me as their father, but I also respect them as my children. I speak to them, I love them, I communicate to them. So parenting skills might be developed at that stage, even as you go about that. So we will be keeping it at that for today. Any winding remarks as we do it?
You can find us on our Facebook page, Walk With Me 17, or YouTube, or email.
Like us and subscribe. If you're part of the YouTube, if you go to the YouTube, you see videos, you see this, which you're watching now, please subscribe. You subscribe. It is important to us to know that we are making sense to you, we are ministering to you, we are adding value to your relationship. But we'll keep it at that for today. God bless you.